What's going on, guys? It is the night before the 3.11 patch, aka Harvest League, and I'll be going over a few things that may have been missed on the in patch notes, in the passive tree, just overall thoughts. So first things first, they actually added glancing blows to the passive tree, and with the Thread of Hope Crimson Jewel, if you get the very large ring roll, you can actually hit all of these passive nodes on the screen, which is insane. Because otherwise, for most builds, I think people came to the conclusion that it's about 8 wasted passive points just to get glancing blows. But this lets you save a lot of points and lets you pick up a lot of relevant nodes. It's pretty strong. And they added chance to gain elusive on kill, no witnesses, coming out of the shadow area. This is huge because it means that if you get this in a tree, you don't have to roll this on boots anymore, and you can just end up rolling tailwind boots along with cooldown reduction. For example, if you're cast on crit, no longer locked into those two mods. And moving on, we have the Window of Opportunity skill wheel. These 3 points gives you a total of 25% reduced skill effect duration, and debuffs expire 15% faster. I know that they mentioned that they got rid of the Earthquake Helm enchant, and now it's on the tree. This is great for Lightning Warp, Earthquake, and other different shenanigans. Probably also a penance brand, to be honest. And as we all know, Ball Lightning Miner was probably the best league starter the past 2 leagues. GGG decided to nerf the slower projectiles support gem. I think it now gives 30% slower projectile speed at max level, at level 20. Compared to 40, so pretty hefty nerf. But they added reduced projectile speed on the tree, so if you get these 2 points, it's a combined total of 20% reduced projectile speed, 30% increased projectile damage, and then up to 20% increased projectile damage conditional. It's kind of like a point blank for just generic projectile damage, but increased instead of more. And this is one of the things I noticed that GGG did in comparison from 3.10 to 3.11, I think due to the Herald builds. If you want to get that 4% reduced mana reserve, it's now 2 points instead of 1, right next to Chaos Inoculation. And Master of Force has changed a little bit. They took out the reduced reflected fizz damage taken. I don't think people are really taking it for that. But most importantly, they got rid of the double damage on this node. The strength and the increased physical damage got buffed a little bit. And the enemies have -% to total fizz damage reduction against your hits. Actually got changed to Overwhelm, and that got doubled. But overall, it's a nerf. Definitely. And they added this Herald cluster, which gives a lot of stuff for Heralds, actually. Pretty big buff for Elementalist, I would say. Whole cluster gives 25% AoE, 25% damage, 20% effect of Herald buffs on you, and 20% reduced mana reservation of Heralds. Pretty good for Herald of Agony and Herald of Purity builds. Both Cold-Hearted Calculation and Revenge of the Hunted were changed to generic damage increase, which is huge, because now it just works on everything. Works on Herald Explosions, Explodey Chest, Explodey Mace, aka Nebulous, any synthesis implicits that you get in this new upcoming league. Any and all damage outside of like minions is affected by this now, which is great. Cold-Hearted Calculation used to be attack and spell damage. Revenge of the Hunted was just physical damage. They're both just generic. Moving on to good starter builds. Here's a list of all the good builds. Out of the builds I've listed, personally, I've played pretty much every miner. This league, I'm going to be playing either Magma Orb Miner or Purifying Flame. If none of those work out, I will probably just play generic Ball Lightning. Last league in 3.10 Delirium, I took a Volatile Dead Spellslinger to level 100. The only complaint I have about the build is the FPS drop. Now, I know that they mentioned that they added the particle effect reducer to the engine. Hopefully that fixes the FPS drop. Regardless, you can build this super tanky and still pump out like 1,000,000 Shaper DPS, which is good enough. I did all content on that build. It's able to clear all 20 waves of Simulacrum without dying. Cortex map, Uber Elder, Awakening 8 Cigarettes, so does pretty much everything. Besides that, we all know that at least one of the two-handed slams is gonna be good. Like, we all know that, so as long as you go Berserker and respect for some kind of two-handed something, you'll find a slam that will be good enough. Dominating Blow actually looks insane with General's Cry. Looks huge. I could see somebody starting with that and taking that all the way to 100 in like less than a week. Cyclone's always good. I know they just took out the stun immunity on it, but you can either take Unwavering Stance, or if you're a cast while channeling and cast on crit, it's not too hard to build stun immunity while channeling. There's a couple nodes on the tree. And, yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Bane is always good, Trickster or Occultist. Blade Vortex is just broken. So you can play any of the flavors that I listed there. Blade Storm, Gladiator, Champion, it's good. Spell Totem is always okay. It's not the best, but that's a pretty safe option. Vortex Occultist is good. And obviously any minion builds. Like, they're all just amazing. And the questionable tier starters, any brand, I don't know how brands are going to be. I assume that they're going to be okay. My bet is on Penance brand being the king of brands. Because it just looks like they put Divine Ire into a singular brand. Insane. The damage on it looks really sick. The fact that it converts Fizz to Lightning means that you can eventually do an Eternity Shroud version of the build. And to top it off, it expunges all the stacks once the brand either expires or the enemy dies. So if you skill for less duration, with the Swift brand support, the reduced skill effect duration that we saw on the tree, and also slap in a lesser duration support gem, and get it down real low, and just spam a bunch of brands, it'll probably explode like crazy, to be honest. And my other brainchild is Detonate Dead Arcanist brand. Should be pretty solid. And I don't know about traps. They keep nerfing traps just because they're next to mines. Now, I call them mines 0.5 because I can take the same exact gear that I have for my miner, swap it in POB, move the POB from mine passives to traps, and I drop from like 20 mil burst DPS to 8. I don't understand why. But it is what it is, thanks GGG. And my overall pre-patch harvest impressions, it's a crafting league. If you like crafting, or you know how to craft already, you're probably going to get insanely rich. There's a bunch of insane, like, annulment orbs that you can do. Different, like, exalted type crafts that you can do. Different bestiary type things that you can do, kind of like a Ferrix Lynx Alpha, where you mess with the prefixes or the suffixes and you like completely re-roll one or the other, which is insane. And to me, it looks like a mix of Synthesis League and Bestiary League. And that being said, sorry about my dog in the back. That being said, if you're the first to discover a recipe or a seed combination without posting on Reddit and without waiting until Ziggy D posts a video, you're gonna make insane profit. Especially if you're able to just whoop and snipe all these seeds, understand how the mechanic works, end of day 1, day 2, even day 3, you'll be good to go. You'll be set for the rest of the league. That being said, I'm not sure on the fluidity of mapping plus the league mechanics. It seems a little sus to me, but we'll just have to see how the game ends up playing. And lastly, the long list of seed crafting options seems insane. Like, we will be seeing the most insane attack damage weapons of all time. I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a 1300 or a 1400 two-handed ball axe. And that's pretty much all I have to say about 3.11. My stream is twitch.tv/ChefQ_. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below on this video, or just come through to the stream. And if I'm live, I'd be happy to answer any and all your questions. Thank you, and good luck, Exiles.